Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Vorse. Wrapping up the theme we have dealt with in this week's Vortex episodes, which has been the virtually unchallenged assault of the homosexual movement against the church from inside the church and the pathetic response to it from church leaders. Just as the evils of abortion as well as contraception have been allowed to fester among Catholics in the pews because of a lack of bold and decisive all-out offense against them, so too now is the homosexual agenda. It's not that the Pope hasn't spoken about this issue. It's not that a number of bishops around the Western world haven't written about it. It's not that a number of faithful speakers haven't spoken about it. But it is that afterwards, after the Pope has said what needs to be said, none of it is paid attention to in any meaningful way. The Pope's words and documents are just ignored, and too many bishops have not stepped up and vigorously opposed this in every possible way. They allow conferences to be held, speeches to be given, their parish priests to coddle this in the name of charity. Too many say next to nothing, if anything at all, as colleges and universities in their dioceses allow gay clubs, campus ministries, dissenting theologians to stand before young people and corrupt them. Since all of this falls under the category of spiritual war, a quote from one of the more notable warriors in secular history seems apropos here. Quote, "If you will not fight for right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." That from Winston Churchill. None of this is intended to slam the office of bishop, regardless of what others may want to imply. We have nothing but the highest of respect and regard for the office of bishop. It was established by our blessed Lord. What we and many others do have a problem with is the glaring lack of exercising the authority of the office by the men who occupy it for the good of the faithful. They have the power and authority, not to mention the divinely mandated duty to forcefully and constantly condemn all evils that are threats to the faith. The crozier a bishop carries isn't only an instrument to help bring back a straying sheep, it's also a weapon to whack the daylights out of an approaching wolf. To not use it is to allow the sheep to be devoured. It takes a certain manfulness to step up and plunge into a pack of wolves and start beating the daylights out of them. Oh, yes, it does. So do it. Just do it. We, along with many others, are pleading with the bishops, begging, start protecting the sheep and stop assailing those sheep who are crying out for your protection. Get rid of the dissenters. How much time and how many souls are you willing to grant them before you start doing what your office demands that you do? Teach your people and priests clearly and precisely that the faith is for their salvation, that heaven and hell are real, that all religions are not the same, that this faith demands the cross be carried, that the call for every one of us is to live and love as saints, not succumb to the latest fad of secular humanism. And don't do this all with just words. Use your authority, whatever the cost to you personally. Walk the walk as well as talk the talk. Get rid of the wolves in your chanceries, seminaries, and parishes. If the diocese must step itself down to poverty to become purer, so be it. If abuse after abuse is heaped upon you and your head by the enemies of Christ, rejoice in the knowledge that you have aroused the anger of Satan. The old saying goes that you can tell a man by his friends, but it's even more true that you can tell the man by his enemies. We would like to close the particular discussion by quoting from an author for whom we have a great deal of respect, if not always in total agreement. Dr. Jeff Mirris over at the website CatholicCulture.org has written an article we have linked to here on our page. It's well worth the short read. Here are two quotes worth highlighting from Dr. Mirris. Quote, "The first and most important thing to say is that the crisis in Catholic theology is of the bishop's own making. I do not claim that the profound secularization of culture which has eroded Catholic theology on every side is primarily the fault of the bishops, but it is certainly their fault." And the second quote, "That is why it is necessary to exclude those who are no longer Catholic from theological positions within the church. But exclusion requires more than teaching and sanctifying. Exclusion requires that bishops learn once again how to rule. By their failure to rule, the bishops have participated in the creation of this radical divide." End quote. We've also included a link to an article that is soon to be published giving a splendid explanation of the Church's teaching on homosexuality. It, too, is well worth the read. God love you, and please pray for our bishops. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, "Apart from me, you can do nothing." Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.